Welcome. Thank you for having a chat with me today, Kim. I'd like to introduce everybody to Kim Guthrie from Working on Wellness, the creator of Working on Wellness. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm fantastic. Thank you. It's been a really cold day, but I'm fantastic.
Amazing, amazing. So we're having a chat today because Kim will be facilitating on the day of the first event on the 16th of June at the Southport Community Centre for WEFest, the Women's Empowerment Event and Festival, as you can see here. We both have our signs. We're professional, we're promoting, we're doing our thing. And today we're having a chat. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So I ask all of the ladies, because I find this intriguing, what brought you into WEFest? What was your, oh my God, I need to be a part of this moment?
It was when you and I connected, so through the beautiful, spectacular Mel, and you and I connected and had a conversation, and your vision, your passion, your energy, I felt through the phone. It was just amazing. And when you started talking about WeFest and talking about connection, conscious awareness, collaboration, to me it was very much what I heard was helping women to grow, helping women to expand. And that's what I'm passionate about now. So my purpose is nourishing growth in individuals. And when I heard you talking about that, that just really talked to me. And I wanted to be part of it, to be able to share what I have and how I can support women to experience a growth so that their awareness can be, increase their awareness so that they can make different life choices. Yeah.
Amazing. I just love listening to you talk as well. I loved when we had that conversation, we were so connected and we really were feeling into the words really deeply of what we're sharing. It was just that really beautiful connection that you know that you've met someone that you're going to deeply connect with for the rest of your life. And that's what I find really beautiful.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
So I would love to share, what will you be facilitating, delivering, showcasing, sharing on the day? We're just giving a little taste tester so the ladies know what they're about to experience.
So for me, one of the things that I'm passionate about is understanding food as medicine. So I know we all go on a journey of healing, and that journey for many people starts in different places. However, a good foundation I've learned and how I work with clients is also understanding food, what the impact is. And so when we can understand that food is actually medicine for us, it actually increases our awareness to be able to make different choices. So now when we're going to, whether it be a farmer's market or the supermarket to get food, we're actually looking at the food differently, because we're now seeing that the celery is actually not just celery anymore. Celery is actually really good for our bones. So celery is long and straight, and so are our bones. And incredibly, the percentage of salt in celery is the same as the percentage of salt in our bones.
Huh.
So when we know this stuff, we make different choices. So I'm pretty passionate about food as medicine. And it's a really good, I feel, it's a really good place to start, because when we eat the right foods, our cells get all the nutrients that they need, and then they behave differently. We can then take the next step, which is that richer growth, whether it be mindset, whether it be being able to move more. They're all components to our wellness.
I love it. I love hearing people's deep passion about what they do, how they can specify and really give that detailed description of what really lights them up about what they do, you know, those experiences about why we are heart-centered business owners, entrepreneurs, you know, whatever we call ourselves. You feel that in the conversation. We were just having a chat prior to going live about the corporate world and how this lifestyle is very, very different. So would you care to share anything about the major differences that you see between these two lifestyles?
Absolutely. I started in corporate probably 30 years ago and went into corporate with the view of, you know, like, this is serious now. This is adult life. It's really serious. You've got work to do, you've got results, you've got things that you have to deliver. There was no fun. And with that, I lost a lot of my humor. And I was on this mission of, you know what, I'm going to be really successful. And now I look back and think I was a wannabe, because I really didn't get successful at all. But there's a lot of egos in corporate. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of, you know, there's, for the want of a better description, there's fighting of the egos, and those people are trying to do better and be one up than someone else. And it's not a true form of collaboration as I now know it to be, now that I've stepped out of corporate. I see so many beautiful women in business who are collaborating, where they have similarities, but they still collaborate. It's not that one's better than the other. There's a lot of collaboration, a lot of connection happening. And I wasn't lucky enough to experience that in corporate. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in corporate. It may happen in some spaces. It wasn't what I experienced in corporate. And I look at it now as, it was very masculine in that corporate space. The energy was very masculine, is what I've learned more recently since I've stepped out. And now I'm very much more aware of that feminine energy. And gosh, it's beautiful. We can have amazing businesses. The feminine energy is so useful in the corporate space as well. And, you know, I know there's a shift happening, and I can't wait to see that corporate space has more feminine energy, because it will really make a difference.
Definitely. And that is a big contrast in conversations that I hear from a lot of people. We were in a corporate space, we were in a 9-to-5, we were in jobs that are now very, very different to where we're at now. You know, that flick in the story, in the journey in our life that put us on a path of health and well-being, and being mindful and understanding our body and have a connection to ourselves, and what is spirituality, and we could go on and on and on. And this is the world we live in. That feminine energy, that feminine rising is inside all of us, and it's what's actually coming through for us to start to delayer and understand who we really are. And this is what, to me, is actually activated within us all. So we're not living in a world dominated by any type of energy, that there actually is a really beautiful commonality, connection, unity, that there's masculine and feminine that's required at any one time. And as an individual, we all have both. And that, to me, is from going from a masculine world, talking about a masculine energy, not necessarily just about men. It's a masculine energy where it was very defined by what you just explained as what we also define as the corporate world. We can define that in lots of other worlds, but essentially it was just, you know, a masculine world that we've all lived in. And this is that ebb and flow, that's the shift. It's the paradigm shift. It's the shift out of our mind, actually just being in survival mode all the time, coming from a heart space, understanding what feminine energy means from a man and a woman's point of view. Like, it's a big deal to navigate through all this stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Is there?
Yeah, I had, like I say, in the masculine, in the corporate world, for me, I was very much left brain. Thinking, feeling was not part of my repertoire of words or behaviors. You know, even the way I dressed was masculine in that corporate space, while still, you know, feminine presence, but it certainly wasn't a stronger presence. And it's, you know, you see so many, there's just a lot of structure, there's a lot of routine, there's a lot of, there's a lot of masculine energy.
There is, and it has its place, but there also needs to be a balance, and I guess that's what we just lacked.
And I think that's absolutely, if we can get a balance, I'm certainly not by any stretch of the means saying that we need all feminine. There needs to be that balance, and you're absolutely right. There is a place for masculine energy. There's decisions that need to be made in a corporate world, in a corporate, in an organization. There's all of those things that need to be done, but there's also the feminine energy that needs to be brought out as well for that gentle balance.
Perfect. And then I go, we then necessarily aren't talking about the difference between feminine and masculine energy. What we're actually talking about is the difference between operating from our wounds, operating from that old paradigm, operating from more of, let's say, toxic behaviors than it ever is necessarily more masculine. It's sort of how it's tied in. But when we start to get through the layers and define feminine, masculine, when we start to find some balance, when we go deeper within, we can just actually acknowledge that, are we operating from our truth, from our divinity? Are we connected to our own alignment, our own belief system? Or are we operating based on society or based on fears? Or that's how we can start to really differentiate it. So it's one layer, I feel, to understand your feminine energy when we come from a world that feels very masculine or feels what would be defined as structure, as force, as control, that essentially that's the old paradigm and that's the fear-based behaviors. There's wounds in that feminine that's coming through with that as well. Would you agree?
Absolutely. When we understand that there's two core emotions, love and fear, if we're not coming from that place of love, then it must be from fear. And so what is it that we're afraid of? And it's one of the big questions that once I learnt that concept, I now ask that question frequently, whether it be of myself or when I see others. And I look at people in a different light and I just say, they're afraid of something. And that brings about for me more compassion because someone's struggling with something.
Perfectly put. And that's it. How simply but beautifully defined is that? That's essentially exactly what we're all going through. That's the difference. That's the shift. That's the comparisons. That's the duality that's shifting into more of a unity. When we actually can release these programming and conditioning of all of humans, of all of life, imagine the new world that we are creating. And we're doing it. We're doing it by our food. We're doing it by our mindset. We're doing it by the people we hang around, the choices that we make. We're doing it by having more of a conscious awareness just in our everyday. It's happening in the small things and the big things, but it's happening. Yes. So this world is a brand new world the moment we make a new decision. So I would love to hear, did you have a defining moment? Did you have something what really shifted for you? Or is it just about a journey that started to really make some subtle changes?
There was a period in my life where I had probably 7 years, a block of time of 7 years of intense stress. I came into a split family and I wanted to try and create a connected family. And what I've now learned on reflection is it was never my place to try and create that. But I stepped into that role of trying to create that connected family. In addition to that, whilst that was going on, I also had high stress in my workplace. So 2 major areas of my life. There were a couple of signs about 15 years, it would have been maybe 10 years ago that I had some physical pains that had me lying on the floor for about 4 weeks, couldn't really move. But, there was a project, so I had to keep going. And so I didn't really listen. And then again, about 7 years ago, I had my body was responding again and telling me to make some changes. But it wasn't until 2015 when I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue and Hashimoto's, an autoimmune condition. Prior to that, probably 12 months prior to that, I'd been to see a doctor. I was emotional all the time, which was totally unlike me. And he it was suggested that I take antidepressants. Didn't sit well with me, so I brushed it off and went, I'll take the natural path and keep working on myself. 2015, I was diagnosed and then went down a big path of, I now need to take action. This is serious now. I really need to stop and take stock of what's going on. So initially I went down the path of shifting my food, detoxing my environment, detoxing the food and looking at skincare and all of those good things that have a large impact. And then I also put on my analytical hat from the corporate space and went about finding answers for the conditions and what was going on for me. And in the journey that I took, I now feel as if I understand what was going on. And whilst food was the beginning of my journey, I don't believe that food was the end of my journey. I can now say I'm medication free, so I'm delighted, and I no longer identify with the diagnosis. But what it's led to is, after I've changed my food, I then, I had a racing mind. My mind couldn't stop. I went from overwhelm to not being able to concentrate at work, not being able to keep up. I'd arrive at work and think, I wonder if I could just go and have a sleep somewhere. Lunchtime would come around and I'd duck into the first aid room and have a sleep and hope that that power nap was going to get me through to the end of the day. I was on a train journey home one day, and I fell asleep on the train. And so I know what it's like to A, fall asleep on the train, B, to get woken up by being tapped on the shoulder by a stranger saying, it's time to get off. You're at the end of the line. Thankfully, my stop was at the end of the line. However, it was times like that where I thought, you know what, I really do need to make some changes. So, and I couldn't keep up at work. My performance was slipping. It wasn't meeting their expectations. So, it wasn't a very pleasant space to be in, not by any stretch of the means. I was in tears almost every day. Biochemically, there was imbalances, hormone imbalances. And it just was, I'd lost the fun. I'd lost the joy. I wasn't laughing at anything. I wasn't listening to my favorite music. I wasn't reading. I'm an avid learner, like I'm a lifetime learner. And as you can see by the books behind me, I love it. And I'd stopped doing that as well. I'd stopped reading. So, it's all these little signs that we need to keep an eye out for. Fast forward, I've stepped out of corporate, I've started my own business, and my mission is to now support others and help others so that they can identify that something needs to shift, so that I can help them on their journey to healing, because it really wasn't a very pleasant place for me, and I don't want anyone to go through that. I now have my fair share of answers. It's not all of them, but the answers that I have, I want to be able to share so it can help others. So, yeah.
Wow. I love really getting to know people. You don't find out this kind of information in a coffee chat, do you? Not necessarily. Maybe
No.
but this is just, look at what everyone's going through.
Yeah.
Like, I say this now to every lady that I've been interviewing, because this is so apparent more and more and more. Your journey is a full story for you. It's part of your life. It's what led to this, to this, to this. But the women that are picking up that part of your journey, you're helping. The women that are picking up then the next part of your journey, because that's where they're at, you're helping, you're resonating, you're opening up a different awareness. You're giving them answers. You're giving them sight that you can get through this. That's the biggest part, don't you feel?
My mission is to help people understand there is hope. We can heal. One of the things that I've been saying, and it dawned on me more recently, was that, we can cut our finger and our finger heals without us thinking about it. But when we're told we have an autoimmune condition, we're told it's our body attacking itself. How does that work? Our body heals without us thinking about it, but then it attacks us. It's just not, I don't buy it for a minute, and I don't believe that that's the case. Our bodies are way too smart for that. Yes, our immune response is heightened as a result of something that's going on in our body. And for me, what I look at now is science is very defined. Science is based on what we know. What about the things we don't know?
Yes.
What about the things that science hasn't tapped into yet? What about the things that science hasn't learnt about? And so I don't believe for a minute that our body attacks itself. So my mission is to say to people, we can heal. I'm an example. I no longer take the medication. The side effects of the medication were quite long. I no longer take that. I'm at less risk now that I'm not taking the medication. What it means is my body is able to get closer to homeostasis, get closer to be aligned with balance. You know, there was, and it just goes to, that leads me on to talk about, you know, it's not just about our food. It's not just about our body. There was a doctor in 1931, Dr. Bach, and he wrote a book. He's written many books. The book that I'm referring to is Heal Thyself. And he writes in the book and says, disease is in essence the result of conflict between soul and mind and will never be eradicated except by spiritual and mental effort.
Wow.
It's not just about the food.
No.
Whilst it's a really good place to start, it's not just about the food. I look now back at my journey and I can see that everything happened for a reason to get me where I am today.
Ah, wisdom. I love it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful when we can get to the part where we really are helping and supporting others because we've been able to get through stuff that can easily you get stuck in. We can easily get stuck in the whirlwind of what is wrong with our bodies, all of the toxicity, all of the fear-based extra behaviors, thoughts that are just getting activated and then adding more fear into the body, which is the incongruence, exactly what you've just explained. That is, you're feeling something and then your mind's taking over from the fear-based program to say no. Then whatever action comes out, there's your incongruence. We all live by that stress, that disconnection in so many ways until your body is like, I am done. We are not living this world anymore disconnected. You go on your journey, you do your healing, you find your self-belief, you do whatever you've got to do. We're sorting this shit out now.
Right. We become addicted to our story as well. And I say that because I was. There's benefits and drawbacks in every situation in our life. And there was a benefit to me being sick. So for an extended period of time, I wasn't getting the attention that I wanted. And I'm not saying from anyone else, I'm saying from myself. And so when I was telling my story, I was getting attention. And I had to put myself first to heal. Once I saw that that was the benefit of me being sick, it shifted my whole healing journey. It's not just about the food.
I love this so much. This is pure gold. This is still information that is not by any means mainstream. This is a knowing that we have to go through on our own journey. This is not something that you can read and then adopt that belief system because it goes against everything that we've ever been built on and believed in and been told. So this is, we only get this way of thinking through experience, through life experience, through the ups and the downs and the pain and the having to work like everything out yourself and going on your journey and finding the things that help and support and it resonates or it doesn't, and you doing all of the things, whether it's external, internal, all just a reflection to get you to that point, that balanced point, that homeostasis. It's that alignment. It's whatever words you want to call it. And balance necessarily isn't that 50-50, which that's a language in itself that people think there is no balance. Balance is you coming back to you, having a connection with yourself, I feel. That to me is, we've always been out of balance, essentially, in terms of the world we live in. It has a purpose, but if we are operating based on fear, how sustainable is that way of living? How sustainable is that way of connecting and actually walking through this life and evolving to a way that's actually going to be beneficial for future generations and our ecosystem and the planet, and we could just go inward and outward forever. But essentially, the purpose is no longer to be in our fear. That's why we have our breakdown. That's why we have our spiritual awakening. That's why we go on this journey where emotions are pouring through us. And like you explained, that what you could do, you can no longer do. And that comes in any capacity, your job, around your relationship, at the gym, whatever you have been having this high level of pushing, forcing, almost autopilot. You know when you're about to shift and go through this major transformation, when you just can't do it anymore. And that is what we hold ourselves to and attach ourselves to. And when we actually start to let ourselves go, okay, things are changing, we're transforming, that's when we start to really sink into the value and the benefits of this transformation, of shifting, of understanding, of those behaviors that just actually weren't serving us. But there's an attachment to them. You said,
Right.
Have that kind of awareness that there's a benefit to your health. That's confronting. It's the questions that come through my mouth every client I have, and I'm like, oh, they're not going to like this. But it's just that, what's the benefit to your cancer? What's the benefit to this? And they're like, what? So there'd be a benefit. Just stay with me. And then, oh, there's a benefit. Oh, there's another benefit. There's another benefit. And it is so confronting that there is a creation inside us that is providing a benefit to what is now of detriment to your health. Like, that spiral effect is so confusing and consuming. This is why we're here holding space. This is why we're running this event. This is why you do what you do, why I do what I do, is because there's too much confusion and so much stress around that flip, that awareness in itself, before we can get to the real thorough, juicy awareness that's joyful and enjoyable and enlightening. There's all that dirty, thick, icky shit that you got to get through first. So thank you for sharing some really deep, epic wisdom of your own journey, because that's going to really hit home and spark and activate so many people's awareness, which is, like you just said, that awareness is what really supports you to shift and transform, and that's your healing journey.
Yeah. And I think the best thing that we can do for ourselves is learn who we are. You know, it was something that you posted on Facebook recently, which helped me just peel back another little layer with, you know, understanding that when we're in our own business, when we're not in somebody else's problems, we don't have anything to let go of. We can't detach from anything when we're not attached to things that are not ours to attach to. And it was, phenomenal when we see that, wow, if I'm attached to that, is it really mine? Is it really mine to even have tried to attach to? It's phenomenal.
And I would like to point out that has brought me into this belief that, or awareness theory, whatever you want to call it, that came through the end of last year for me, is that we actually have no stuff. And when I say stuff, it's the baggage, it's the problems, it's the diseases, it's the all of the things, because what creates the problem is taking on other people's stuff. But that's human evolution. To me, what came through when I've done a lot of womb healing, I'm guiding women back through, and I'm going on a journey thinking, where are we going with this? We're going back into your awareness as a fetus in the womb. We're going back through past lives. We're going back through past generations. This is all interesting. What I'm seeing and experiencing myself and then my clients, what came apparent to me was that we came into this world with our mothers, grandmothers, and let's just say every other past generation's pain and suffering. So we already came into this world with stuff. We already came into this world with pain and fear. And this is how humans have evolved until now. This is what I feel is the greatest shift, is that we've then hurt our mother and upset her and then made our dad angry. And every time we felt an emotion and saw a stress, we took it on, and we didn't know any better. It's humans, whatever you want to call it. It's basically something that has just adopted in a behavioral sense that we're doing unconsciously. And all we've ever done is add layers upon ourselves. So if we came into this world with layers that weren't ours to begin with, all we've ever done is add another layer. Then the guilt of why we didn't do that. And then we shouldn't have said that. And imagine how much stuff you had from a child that caused emotional impact on parents that also weren't connected to themselves, because at what point in any generation of any lifetime any human has actually ever experienced to have this kind of consciousness, to have this kind of awareness, to live in this free kind of world, to have these kind of connections and the ability to really, really deeply connect to one another on this planet. No one has ever experienced this time in their lives. So to me, no one has stuff. which is great because healing is like that. Your awareness is what unlocks your attachment, and the attachment is your stress, is your disease, is your problem, is your health concern, is your mindset, it's your beliefs, it's your everything, because it's your unconscious programming that we are always attaching ourselves to. That's a problem. I'm taking responsibility for that. And we think we're helping. It's just like the most backwards way that we've just adopted that ability to try and help and heal others by taking on their problems. How the hell is that ever going to work? Until we break down and go, whoa, I don't even know who I am. I don't live for myself. All I'm ever doing is looking after everybody else. How did I get to this point in my life? And then you start to go back on the healing journey. I just really needed to make a point of that, because that to me is a really key point on what I share in a lot of different conversations I have, but definitely all my clients, because when they realize that their health concern, their disease isn't their problem and isn't their stuff, you let it go. And when you let it go, it doesn't exist anymore. And that is like the deepest embedded toxicity that you think you've got going on in your body. That shit can heal like that, because it's all just energy.
Correct.
That's what I wanted to say.
Boom. And that from, when was it? 2 weeks ago, from when I saw your Facebook post. I have felt a shift within myself that is significant. I feel lighter. I feel like my body is functioning better. I've got less physical pain. And I've had physical pain now for, what are we talking about? 10 years. And it's easing every day. It's getting less and less. And it's not, it doesn't feel as if it's easing in a way of, oh, there's a little bit of relief. It feels as if it's easing as in it's going. It's no longer, it's that release. It's that, everything is just an emotional tightness, an emotional burden that we carry. You're right. It's not our shit to carry.
It's crazy when we have that awareness, isn't it? You look back at your whole life and you're like, oh my God. And you can see, you have the consciousness and the awareness of, I have a memory of doing this at 2. How would you actually know that? When you can actually go back in and think, oh, I remember that argument my parents had when I was in the womb. There's just awareness that you can have without having to necessarily go into deep meditation. Just when you get to that depth and that conversation, you have that person that's there holding space for you, you can gain so much knowing, because all of the knowing ever existed is within you. That's what we do. We're guiding people back to themselves. We do it with our activating posts, like you said. Look what shifted by you reading a post of mine. It's a Facebook post. Look what our bodies can do. Look, when we're ready to let go of shit, we read the right thing, we talk to the right person, we see the right healer, we eat the right food, we do all of the things. That's purposeful. It's not necessarily one thing, but what we do, what we pinpoint is how we serve, how we really truly like to help people and that part of their journey. We know we are so much more than what we deliver. We know we have a more of a story that we're still unfolding, and we will continue helping people or serving them, holding space for them, supporting them, whatever feels right at the time, for them to just be able to get on their journey and not be stuck, not be, not give up, not be in their victim, not go, poor me, not do anything. For us to gently hold space for someone and pull them out of that rubbish way of living is our duty. And we do it by words, we do it by conversation, we do it in our sessions, we do it any way that we feel we're drawn to do, right? Absolutely. It's a full embodiment of truly being of service in this world.
Absolutely. You're amazing.
How fun are these conversations?
They're great.
We will wrap this up because we're not wanting to just talk forever, because we could. But there's one key point that I really, really want to ask you is for you to be advised to take antidepressants and for you to then make the decision not to. Do you have memory of why you made that decision? Because that's a big choice to make in that moment.
Whilst I agree there are some illnesses, situations where medication is required, I'm not a big proponent for medication. And the reason being is, again, it's a science-based situation where they only know what they know. And medication Like I say, I know a number of people that have needed to take medication to be able to get them through, and I totally respect that. But for me, I understood when I looked at the side effects, the risks were far greater than what I was prepared to accept. I inherently knew that I could heal. I just needed to find out how. And so I went about doing, and I just researched. My whole life was spent then, you know, when I wasn't at work, I was researching what next. Understanding that gut health is connected to mental well-being. So that was the first thing I did. Right, gut health, let's start there. You know, I went and saw a number of practitioners to help different ways. You know, initially I started with a psychologist, and you know, my mind was racing so quickly. I went in, I'll never forget, I went in, first visit was, right, we're here, we've got limited time, here's the backstory, can you now give me some tools and tips and techniques that I can go away and work on, please, let's go. And she looked at me and laughed and said, hey, you want to take a breath? You want to just slow down a minute? I'm like, no, we don't have time, let's go. So it was based on the side effects of the medication. Back to your question. They were far greater than what I was prepared to accept. And one of the things was the addictive component of the medication. Yeah.
And what even makes you look at the side effects? Because I'm not sure that many people do that. We have trust in the doctors, and that's another story in itself. But what made you look at the side effects?
What actually made me look was when the doctor actually mentioned, he didn't say it was antidepressants that he suggested I take. He said, I've got something that you can take which will make everything so much easier for you. And he gave me the name of something. It didn't resonate with me. I didn't know what it was. And I had to just, for the walk back to the office, I just kept saying it over and over in my head so I couldn't forget it. So when I got back to the office, I actually looked at it. And I searched enough to find, okay, so, here's some side effects. I already had an awareness that medication wasn't all that it's cracked up to be. There's, sadly they don't test different medications together, and so one might be okay on its own, but then you put it with something else and it comes up with a different reaction in the body. So yeah, I don't know, I inherently just wanted to do the research and understand what I was putting in my body. It's my body, and I wanted to know what I'm doing to it. You know, like for years I put things in my body that weren't any good, and you know, it came to the point where, okay, let's just reassess everything that I do put in and on my body.
And thank you very much for sharing that, because I wanted to make a point of that, because that in itself is a big choice. That in itself is awareness for other people. That in itself will wake up people to be operating or acting without any research, without any care about their own body. It's still up to them to make that decision. It doesn't matter what decision they make. You know, like you said, if people really feel they need the medication, perfect. That's their decision. That's up to them. And that's not for us to judge. But at what point do we do the research? At what point do we actually take power back in our own lives, in all situations?
I think we give away our power because it's easier to allow someone to make decisions and we just trust and have faith. It's no different. Like I said in the beginning, food is medicine is my thing. If you actually went into the supermarket and looked at the food products in the aisles of the supermarket and actually looked at the ingredients, I'm not really concerned about the nutritional panel. Look at the ingredients and tell me if you know what that is, and tell me if you understand what that is. Just because it's on the shelf in a supermarket doesn't mean it's actually okay for our body. There are some shocking things out there, and it may not be, there may not be a negative impact the first time you eat something. If you eat it once, it may be okay. Our bodies may be able to process that. You eat it continually, and our bodies might get to a point where it says, yeah, no, I can't process that anymore because I don't know what it is. There's so many foods that are made in laboratories now, and it's not food. And that just comes back to taking responsibility. What am I putting in my body and on my skin? Do I know what it is? Because this is my earth suit, and I'm responsible for my earth suit, not anyone else.
Perfect. And you made a great point. We do trust other people and other things to look after us. We naturally, how could we even fathom that they would make food that could be toxic to us? How could we even fathom that doctors don't necessarily know what they're prescribing? How could we fathom that there's more money to be made in whatever industry that their care is for ourselves? We trust that without any knowing or knowledge, but we don't trust our own internal guidance. How did we get to this place? How did we get to a world where other people have their power to look after us and we almost just go, that'll do, that's fine. I'm still stressed, I'm unhealthy, but I don't know any better. How do we get to this world? It's all of us. It's no one's fault. This is how humans have evolved. And we ignore our own intuition. Our intuition says do that or don't do that, and we ignore it. And then we're like, shit, wish we would have listened to myself when I should have got out of that shitty relationship, or I knew not to eat that food, and now look what's happened. And it blows my mind when you get to this point. It's like, wow. Yeah.
I wonder if it's because we're all so busy and we're all so tired, really. And to do the research, gosh, that takes time and energy, and I just don't have it. You know, I go to work and I come home and I'm just tired. I don't, you know, it's easier to just let someone else decide for me. But the reality is we're letting other people decide on our health and well-being. If we don't have our health, we've got nothing. We've got nothing if we don't have our health.
Exactly. And we've never looked after ourselves. So naturally, we don't know how to. Naturally, we trust because we came into this world with parents looking after us the way they chose to, based on their beliefs and their wounds and their projected whatever behaviors that came through upon us. So we just naturally, we're chameleons. We actually can do a very good job of just molding in and doing the best with the situation. So really, all we're ever doing is just trying to survive. And we've done that in the best way possible until we get to that point where we reflect. So I feel it's almost natural that, yes, you've had parents look after you, and then you go to school and the teachers tell you what to do and are there to look after you. You go to a job, you've got a manager telling you what to do. You've got a partner, sometimes they'll tell you what to do. At what point did you ever wake up and go, hang on a minute, I have no control over my life. I don't make any decisions for myself, and now my life is a mess. Oh, I need to start doing some work. No one has ever supported any generation or any human to do what they love, you know, to even feel their body and make a decision based on that. We don't live in that world. So it can be shocking when we look back at our world, but really, it's just how humans have evolved. We can't be blaming ourselves or adding guilt and shame upon that. It's literally, we've never looked after ourselves, and now we're just learning what that actually means and what personal responsibility actually means and what a true adult really means to make a decision in the moment, to say, this is what's right for me and I'm okay with that. It's not an easy thing to just wake up one day and just switch from the whole way that we've ever lived.
We always try and fit in as well. I think the biggest gift that we can give ourselves is to learn about who we are. And when I say who we are, learn about what lights us up. What are our values? What's really important to us? What am I naturally good at? What are my skills? What are my strengths? What are my gifts that I can share with the world? Because when we understand that about ourselves, we don't need to fight ourselves anymore. We don't need to fit in because we know who we are. And we love who we are because we're now really clear on it. I know that this is my gift. I'm clear on that. I don't need to try and fit in. I accept myself for who I am. I know that you have your gifts and I have mine. And I love myself enough to now not want to, I don't need to fit in. And I now know that I can go and get a job or start a business doing what I love, and it's ease and flow as opposed to hustle and push. But we don't know that if we don't know who we are.
It does definitely start with us, doesn't it? It is a personal journey, and this is exactly why the first event is about the health and well-being journey. It starts with us. It starts with that thing that we put in our mouth all day, every day, what we put on our skin, the things that we're doing mindlessly, the actions that we're doing on our body and based on our body without actually talking to it, connecting with it, listening to it. We're just full on hating it all the time. We have to start somewhere, and we have to start with this vehicle that's actually the thing that's getting us through life in the first place. It starts and ends there.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for chatting with me today. I could just let's just do this for a whole week. Let's just chat and heal the world's problems.
Absolutely. And when we heal ourselves, we heal others around us. So why would you not start with yourself? And I think that's what we also need to add into the mix is, you know, you don't need to heal everyone else. We just need to heal ourselves. We just need to focus on us. Focus on me. I will heal myself, because when I'm true and authentic and rock solid with who I am, then things around me become so much easier as well. When I heal myself, others around me heal, because they don't see the fight and the struggle within me. So start with ourselves.
Perfect. And we are here to support the women, because this can be a stressful journey. We know that. That's why we'll be here on the day. And that's why you'll be able to reach out to Kim. You're happy if anyone really, really resonates with your story.
Absolutely.
They can go, hey, help me.
Yes. Absolutely. We all need support on the journey. We don't have to travel this journey on our own. It's not a competition. It's not a race. We're all at different parts of our journey, and we're all here to support. And if I can help in any way, I will. Absolutely.
Well, we'll make sure that all the links are all connected, so you can reach out to Kim if you want to have a chat. Obviously, Kim will be there on the day, on the 16th of June. So feel free to reach out. We're not necessarily here to project our views. We got quite, I would say, opinionated in what our personal beliefs are. At the end of the day, when we're supporting others, when we're holding space for others, we're not here to project that upon anyone. We're not here to judge. We're here sharing a story. Kim was shared her story and what her journey was. When we're actually in our business, when being of service, when we're here to support another, our views don't matter. It's not about us. We're here to listen. We're here to hold space. We're here to just hear where you're at, because we can hear in your words and know how to support you. And when you have questions, we can answer them. We can offer suggestions if you're open to them. We're just here as a capacity to know what we know because of what we've been through. So we show up as we've experienced this, that, and the other. And if that resonates with you, well, here, let's just have a chat. Let's see what happens. If there's something that I can offer you that can help you on this journey, perfect. We start a co-creation. We start a relationship.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, thank you.
I just felt like I got a little opinionated, so I like to make that clear, because it can ruffle people's feathers. It can make us feel, oh shit, I'm doing that, and she said that was wrong, or she doesn't seem like that's a very good idea, and I'm doing that. So I like to make that clear that when we're being of service, we're here to hold space. Our views, our opinions, our life story doesn't matter. We're just here listening.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, thank you again. We look forward to playing and conversing and hanging out with everyone on the 16th of June at Southport Community Centre. Reach out to Kim. I look forward to it as well. It's evolving really, really beautifully. It's a really natural service that has been created, this platform. You know, we're here to create a community. We're here to serve and support one another. We just want us all to get to a part of our lives where we're actually having fun, enjoying it, healthy, happy. We don't need to keep struggling. We don't need to be living that world that we are constantly stressed, going an uphill battle with all these challenges, and we're just at breakdown all the time. We don't need to be living like that. And we're just here to help women go through that wherever they're at.
Absolutely.
So thank you again. We look forward to seeing everybody on the 16th. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.